Last year, more Americans moved than stayed put, and 1 in 5 said they regretted it within 12 months. That's the world as it is, everyone chasing the next smart move. But here's the problem. The data doesn't match the dream. Cities that look perfect on paper quietly drain your wallet, your time, or your patience. Sometimes all three. What nobody tells you is why regret clusters in specific places until it's too late. So today, we're going city by city, counting down 10 US cities people move to with hope and leave with excuses. Some will surprise you. One will absolutely annoy you. Wait till you see that one. Like the video if you enjoy uncomfortable truths. Subscribe because moving blind is expensive. Number 10. Boise, Idaho. Boise sold a clean, outdoorsy fantasy. Mountains 10 minutes away. Friendly neighbors. Affordable, but rising. The kind of phrase that sounds like opportunity if you don't ask for whom. Remote workers saw a cheat code. Locals saw a glow-up. Everyone thought they were early. They weren't. But then, the numbers started moving faster than the people. Between 2019 and 2023, Boise home prices jumped over 70% at the peak, while median wages crawled. Rents followed, up 40% plus in a few years. Boise now regularly ranks among the most overvalued housing markets relative to income. Surprisingly, job growth stayed modest. This wasn't Austin. It was a pricing surge without a salary surge. What nobody tells you is how that feels day to day. You're not broke, you're boxed in. Good jobs are scarce, starter homes vanished, commutes stretch because people get pushed farther out every year. And yes, the outdoors are stunning until wildfire smoke cancels summer. Quick rant, Boise coffee costs like Seattle now, but somehow still closes at 3 p.m. Pick a struggle. And if you think Boise's pricing shock was bad, wait until you see what happens when a city grows fast and forgets to build anything new. Number 9. Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville looks like the future if you squint. Rocket City, NASA brains, defense money, more engineers per capita than you'd expect for a place surrounded by Waffle Houses. On paper, it's a cheat code. Smart jobs, low taxes, polite people, and a cost of living that used to feel like a wink. You move here thinking, finally, growth without chaos. But then, Huntsville has been one of the fastest growing cities in the Southeast, with population up roughly 20% in a decade. Housing noticed. Rents jumped 30% plus since 2020. Home prices followed. Infrastructure? Not so much. Commute times climbed faster than road expansion. Crime stays relatively low, sure, but quality of life gaps widen. Arts funding lags. Walkability is limited. And the job market? Shockingly narrow. Aerospace, defense, or good luck pivoting. Here's the emotional tax. Huntsville is brilliant at work and oddly quiet at living. Great if your job is your personality. Less great if you want culture, spontaneity, or a second act. Sarcastic truth? A city full of rocket scientists somehow built nightlife that still clocks out at 9. And can we talk about traffic? It's not big city bad, it's worse because nobody expects it. One wreck on the parkway and suddenly everyone's late, confused, and emotionally spiraling. You moved here to escape that. Surprise! Be honest, would you trade nightlife for job security? Yes or absolutely not? And if you think a smart city struggling with culture is frustrating, wait until you see what happens when growth shows up and community never does. Number 8. Spokane, Washington. Spokane looks like a loophole. Waterfalls downtown, mountains in every direction, a West Coast vibe without the West Coast invoice. People move here thinking they cracked the code. Seattle energy, Boise calm, Portland prices from 10 years ago. Nature and livability. That's the pitch. But then, Spokane starts answering back. Here's where the math changes. Since 2020, Spokane rents jumped 35 to 40%, outpacing wage growth by a mile. Median home prices climbed fast enough to shove first-time buyers into nearby counties. Crime? Property crime rates remain well above the national average, especially theft and car break-ins. Violent crime is uneven, neighborhood by neighborhood, but the anxiety tax is real. Healthcare access is another quiet problem. Eastern Washington has fewer providers per capita, and ER wait times ballooned post-pandemic. And surprisingly, job growth stayed thin outside healthcare and logistics. Remote workers arrived. Local opportunity didn't expand with them. Quick stat grenade. Spokane has one of the highest per capita homelessness rates in Washington. Yeah, let that sit for half a second. What nobody tells you is how compressed life feels here. You're surrounded by beauty, but boxed in by systems that didn't scale. Social services stretched, housing squeezed, public patience thinning. And then there's government friction. City leadership has spent years stuck between growth and preservation, approving development slowly, zoning cautiously, and reacting instead of planning. That delay, it shows up in rent checks, road wear, and public frustration. Spokane didn't sell out, it just never staffed up. Also, winter. I don't mean cozy winter. I mean 6 months of gray that feels personal. People say, you get used to it. No, you cope. Everyone owns the same 3 coats and pretends vitamin D is optional. And if you think a city drowning in natural beauty can still feel strained, wait until you see what happens when growth shows up and the government hesitates. Number 7. Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland is the Florida people about. Not Miami loud, not Orlando chaotic. Just lakes, palm trees, and a commute that sounds manageable. You move here thinking you found the middle path. Sunshine without spectacle. Affordability without sacrifice. A calm life. Right between 2 major metros. Here's the quiet shift. Since 2020, Lakeland's population surged over 18%, one of the fastest growth rates in the state. Rents jumped 30 to 35%. Home prices followed. But wages? They didn't get the email. Median household income still trails the national average. Crime stays mostly moderate, but property crime ticks higher than you'd expect for a sleepy city. And then there's the invisible bill, insurance. Florida homeowners insurance premiums have more than doubled statewide in just a few years. Some carriers pulled out entirely. Flood risk maps expanded. What nobody tells you is how stress sneaks in sideways. You didn't move here for luxury, you moved for balance. But balance collapses when your insurance jumps faster than rent, and local government scrambles to respond after the damage. City and state leadership keep promising stability while quietly shifting costs to residents. Roads lag. Public transit barely exists. Growth approvals fly through, infrastructure crawls. Lakeland feels affordable until you own something. Also, humidity. This isn't weather, it's a lifestyle condition. You step outside, instantly damp, questioning your decisions. Sunglasses fog. Shirts cling. You're not sweating, you're marinating. And yes, locals say, you get used to it. That's just something people say when escape is expensive. Wild fact, some of the safest towns in the Midwest lock their doors less than parts of Florida that spend half the year underwater. And if you think sunshine hides long-term risk, wait until you see what happens when growth hits a city with no backup plan. Number 6. Reno, Nevada. Reno sells proximity like it's a lifestyle. Tahoe adjacent. No state income tax. Mountains, desert, casinos that swear they're rebranding. You move here thinking you found the loophole. California access without California consequences. Work hard. Play outside. Keep your money. But then Reno reminds you where you actually live. Here's the data they don't put on the brochure. Since 2020, Reno rents climbed 40% plus, faster than most local wages. Median home prices surged, then cooled, but affordability never recovered. Crime? Property crime rates sit well above the national average, especially theft and car break-ins. Jobs look diverse on paper, but much of the growth came from warehousing and logistics, not high-paying career ladders. And water? Quiet problem. The Truckee River system is stressed, drought cycles are longer, and growth keeps getting approved anyway. What nobody tells you is how Reno extracts energy. It's transient. People come for opportunity, leave for stability. Social ties feel temporary. Rent feels permanent. Sarcastic truth? Reno is great at being almost something. Almost a tech hub. Almost an outdoor paradise. Almost affordable. And the city government? Forever playing catch-up. Approving growth first, asking infrastructure questions later. Roads strain. Housing lags. Water planning gets optimistic. Also, wind. Nobody warned you about the wind. Not breezy, personal beef wind. It knocks things over, ruins plans, shows up uninvited. You'll be eating outside, feeling smug, and suddenly Reno slaps your napkin into the next county. Picture it. You finish work. The sun's perfect. Mountains glowing. You think, I nailed this. Then you check rent, hear sirens, and remember your car's been broken into twice. Balance restored. And if you think Reno's identity crisis is loud, the next city somehow made stagnation feel cozy. Trust me, this next place looks calm until you try to grow there. Number 5. Des Moines, Iowa. Des Moines is the city you move to when you're tired of drama. Quiet success, insurance money, clean streets, short commutes. It pitches itself as functional America, a place where life finally calms down and money stops yelling at you. You come here expecting stability with a sneaky upside, a grown-up move. But then, calm turns into stillness. Here's the data nobody leads with. Des Moines is consistently ranked among the lowest crime metro areas in the country. Cost of living sits below the national average. Rents rose post-2020, but only around 15 to 20%, mild compared to the rest of the country. So what's the problem? Job growth has flattened. Most high-paying roles cluster in insurance, finance, or government-adjacent work. Young professional outmigration is real. College grads leave faster than they arrive. And quality of life? Safe, yes. Dynamic? That's debatable. What nobody tells you is the emotional tax of a city that never pushes back. Des Moines won't hurt you. It just won't challenge you either. Career ladders are short. Social scenes repeat themselves. Ambition starts whispering instead of shouting. Des Moines is where chaos goes to retire. Let's talk weather. Iowa winter isn't aggressive. It's persistent. Gray skies, flat light, wind that feels personal. You'll hear, "At least traffic's easy. Cool. Now drive through slush for 4 months thinking about all your life choices." Picture it. Morning commute, 10 minutes. Coffee still hot. Streets quiet. You think, this is nice. Then 6 months pass. Nothing changes. That's when it hits. Wild irony. Des Moines is safer at night than cities 10 times richer, but somehow feels riskier to your long-term ambition. Be honest. Would you trade excitement for stability? Yes or no? Number 4. Fayetteville, Arkansas. Fayetteville feels like a fresh page. College town energy. Trails everywhere. A downtown that hums just enough. Walmart money floating nearby like gravity. You move here thinking you found it. Youth without chaos. Growth without noise. Community without ego. A place that feels alive, but not exhausting. But then, the town stops growing with you. Here's the quiet math. Fayetteville's cost of living used to be a punchline, in a good way. Not anymore. Rents jumped 25 to 30% since 2020, driven by student demand and limited housing supply. Crime stays relatively low overall, but property crime spikes during the school year. The job market? Narrow. Corporate gravity pulls toward Bentonville, but upward mobility stalls unless you fit a few very specific lanes, and population churn is constant. Students cycle through, young professionals arrive, then quietly leave. What nobody tells you is how Fayetteville locks time in place. It's incredible at age 21, comfortable at 28, questionable at 35. Social scenes repeat, career ladders flatten. You start feeling older, not because you are, but because the city refuses to age with you. Fayetteville doesn't have a midlife crisis because it never reaches midlife. Also, game days. Look, school spirit is great, but when an entire city shuts down because a football team exists, you start planning errands like a military operation. Want groceries? Nope. Want peace? Absolutely not. The town belongs to the Razorbacks now. Picture this. Early evening, bikes gliding past, music drifting from a patio. It feels safe, easy, familiar. And then you realize every year feels exactly like this one. Same people, same paths, same ceiling. And if you think getting stuck in a too comfortable city is frustrating, the next place turns stagnation into a full-time lifestyle. Number 3. Pueblo, Colorado. Pueblo looks like Colorado with the volume turned down. Mountains nearby, blue skies, lower prices. A gritty, historic vibe that feels authentic. You move here thinking you beat the system. Front range access without front range costs. Same state, same sunshine. Way cheaper life. But then, the gap shows up. Let's get into the numbers. Pueblo's cost of living sits below the national average. And yes, housing is cheaper than Denver by a mile. That's the hook. But crime? Violent crime rates are well above the national average, and property crime is persistent. The job market is the real bottleneck. Unemployment regularly runs higher than Colorado's average, and wages lag hard. Most growth funnels into healthcare, prisons, or low-wage service work. Population trends? Flat to declining. Young people leave. Opportunity doesn't chase them. What nobody tells you is how proximity messes with your head. You're close to success, close to Denver, close to better jobs, close to momentum, but close isn't access. Sarcastic truth? Pueblo is where Colorado dreams go to wait, sometimes forever. City leadership talks revival, investment trickles. Meanwhile, residents carry the weight, long commutes, limited options, and the constant sense that you're living just outside the future. Also, wind. Not charming mountain breeze, industrial-grade wind. It kicks dust into your teeth and rearranges your plans. You'll be like, like, "Nice day," and Pueblo says, "Absolutely not. Outdoor dining? For 5 minutes, maximum." And if you think living near opportunity is frustrating, the next place proves you can have nostalgia, charm, and regret all at once. This next city looks harmless, until you try to build a future there. Number 2. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Scranton runs on nostalgia. Brick buildings, tight streets, blue-collar pride. A place that feels human in an age of glass towers and corporate fonts. Cheap housing, familiar faces. You move here thinking you're opting out of the rat race and into something real. But then, the past stops being charming. Here's the data behind the postcard. Scranton's population has declined for decades, down roughly 25% from its peak. Cost of living is low, yes, but that's paired with below-average wages and limited job diversity. Crime sits mixed. Violent crime lower than some Rust Belt peers, but property crime remains persistent. The real issue? Economic gravity. Major employers are scarce. Young talent leaves. Tax base shrinks. Local government stays stuck managing decline instead of growth. Lean budgets, aging infrastructure, and incentives aimed at survival, not momentum. Quick stat pause. Median age? Rising. New businesses? Flat. Hope? Still there, but carrying a limp. What nobody tells you is how emotionally heavy stagnation feels. Scranton isn't unsafe, it's unfinished. You'll save on rent, but spend an opportunity cost. Careers stall, networks thin, ambition quietly reroutes elsewhere. Sarcastic truth? Scranton isn't broken, it's just been waiting for a very long time. And winter. Oh, winter. Snow that turns gray immediately. Potholes that feel sentient. You'll dodge the same crater every morning like it's a ritual. The city fixes roads slowly because budget, again. And if you think living in the past is expensive in ways nobody warns you about, the next city proves short-term money can do even more damage. Number 1. Midland to Odessa, Texas. Midland, Odessa doesn't whisper opportunity, it shouts it. Oil money, high wages. Come for a few years, stack cash, leave rich. That's the legend. You picture wide skies, a short grind, and a fast exit. A place you don't love, but that loves your bank account. And for a minute, it works. Here's the data behind the myth. Median wages run well above the national average thanks to oil and gas. But everything else inflates to match. Rents spike violently during booms, sometimes doubling in short cycles, then wobbling when oil dips. Crime rates, especially violent crime, trend higher than national averages. Traffic fatalities are among the worst per capita in Texas. The job market is brutally concentrated. Oil slows, the city holds its breath. Local government budgets swing with energy prices. Public services expand, then contract, over and over. Stability is seasonal. What nobody tells you is how temporary everything feels. Friendships, businesses, even confidence. You're making money, but not building roots. Healthcare access is thin. Culture is limited. The environment is harsh. Sarcastic truth? Midland, Odessa pays you hazard pay for boredom and risk. Also, driving. This place treats speed limits like suggestions and red lights like vibes. Massive trucks, long commutes, zero patience. You don't drive here, you brace. Picture it. Sunset. Flat land glowing orange. You're tired, but your paycheck hit. You feel calm. Then you realize you wouldn't stay here without that number attached. A guy on a local forum said, "You don't move here for life, you move here for money, and you better leave before the town collects it back." That's accurate. Like the video if this saved you a bad U-Haul decision. Subscribe, because moving blind is the most expensive hobby in America.